Welcome to another video, guys. Another week has passed, and today we're gonna see what the best performing decks for Easy Legend are right now. I'm gonna show you 5 of the best decks, talk about their mulligans, win rates, and general tips so you have a better idea of what you could be playing with, as well as what you're probably playing against, so you have a much easier time climbing. And we're also gonna check out all of the other working archetypes for each individual class, so you can see the full picture. If you find the video helpful, a like and a subscribe would really be appreciated, and do please double check if you're actually subscribed to the channel, because plenty of people think they are, but they actually randomly get unsubscribed for some reason, so would appreciate it if you give it a good old double check. And don't forget to check me out live on stream each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday over at Twitch. But now, let's get into it. Before we get into the best decks, I want to show you guys something that is very cool and I genuinely am using. These are the official Hearthstone mouse mats from Fragstore, and I've actually been using mouse mats like this for over 2 years now, and honestly, they're top tier quality. The surface feels super smooth, the prints look amazing, and they've honestly held up better than a mouse mat I've bought for over 40 euros quite a while ago. What I really like about them is they're actually genuinely made for Hearthstone fans. The artwork has that collector vibe, and since they're officially licensed and made together with Blizzard, they don't feel like generic, cheap-made merch, but quite the opposite. They currently have an insane 40% discount running until June the 30th. So if you have been thinking about upgrading your setup or just want some really cool Hearthstone merch on your desk, definitely check out Fragstore. I'll put the link at the top of the description as well as in the pinned comment so you guys can check it out. But now, let's check out the best decks.
You are not prepared!
First up, we're actually gonna see Face Hunter this time, because this deck has quite the high win rate as well as quite the high play rate right now, which is kinda interesting. As you guys see, we can see a nice little big spike over here, so I guess it has been performing really well after the new class sets came out, because quite a few not so amazing decks came out, and Face Hunter really farms those. Not much has changed about Face Hunter. This is still a pretty one-drop heavy list, and we are not even running things like Gen Greymane or anything like that, and the most expensive card in this deck would be a 4-drop. We have quite a few good 1-drops in here, but nothing out of the ordinary really, and we still do have the double arrow retrievers in here for a little bit of extra card draw, which definitely does work a little bit easier when you don't have anything above 3 mana. Neri is also in here so you can repeat some of them good 1-drops, and I have even seen lists that run the 1-drop Tame Pet, because that is a good way to actually get yourself extra card draw, especially since you get to repeat it with Confront the Tol'Vir. But for the most part, this is still same old Face Hunter with which you can still be climbing to Easy Legend. Here's what the updated matchups look like for a deck like this, and Herald Death Knight, if you manage to find some, is not gonna be great, and same can be said for Spell Demon Hunter, which you're definitely gonna see a good amount of. Priests are definitely not gonna be great for you, and same can be said for Egg Warrior, but everything else very much in your favor, or at least a 50-50. In the mulligan phase, going first, you are gonna want to get yourself your good 1-drops, and Quell the Ray Fletcher definitely is at the top of the naughty list for you, and getting yourself one of the Sylvana sisters also is not bad. Varisa, for instance, the sooner you get her, the more value you're gonna get out of her, but to be fair, with a deck like this, you're really not expect to go much beyond turn 6 or 7, so how much value could you possibly get? The really big payoff this card would be giving you is to actually double up things like Sylvanas for you, so I'd say that would be the bigger payoff indeed, and even things like Confront the Tol'Vir could be something pretty important for you, but when going first, I would definitely not straight out hold on to it. On the coin, however, again, go for the 1-drops, go for the early game aggression, and here Confront the Tol'Vir definitely makes more sense, especially if you already have yourself 3 other good 1-drops. For other good Hunter decks, we can also see Companion Hunter is doing decent, but no, not really. According to the stats, it's not doing decent at all, but this is looking like a wonky list, really. No, actually, wait a minute, this is top 1000, silly me. But yeah, this is the list I showed you, Face Hunter, and we can scroll down a little bit further and see some variations of Companion Hunter, like this one, for instance, with a very small sample size, but we do have some very populated lists, I do believe, with a lot bigger sample size, but with a lot smaller win rate. Yeah, this one, for instance, 53% win rate, 6,000 plus games, but running Animal Companion, what else would you expect, guys? It's really not doing that well. You might want to give my other Companion Hunter list a check. That one definitely felt like it's gonna be doing a lot better in a meta like this. Dragon Hunter is also playable. It used to be a lot more playable. Yesterday, actually, it was sitting at around 55-ish% win rate, but right now not so hot. But yeah, I guess people are catching up to it or something. On the number 2 spot, we have Herald Shaman, and this has been a top tier list for quite a while now. I did give you an updated guide about it pretty recently, so you could give it a check. No, actually, I'm gonna be giving you an updated guide about it in a couple of days, so hold tight on that one. But yeah, Herald Shaman has been having some pretty good favorable matchups lately after the latest class sets came out, and the list really is nothing different from what you remember it. You still have all of your staple cards, basically 26 cards of staples, and we have ourselves a Hex in here and a couple of Lightning Storms, definitely not the worst. And we also have ourselves a single copy of Wailing Vapor, so you can have yourself a little bit of bigger, better early game potential. Matchup wise for this deck right now, Spell Demon Hunter is still a little bit on the negative, Aggro Druid is a little bit on the negative as well, and we can also see Dragon Warrior being slightly under 50, but nothing too crazy really in terms of bad matchups. It's literally less than 5% all of them, and everything else is quite above 50% for you, so again, should be a pretty easy climb for you. In the mulligan phase, going first and second for that matter, you're always going to want to find your good early game Herald cards. The Twilight Egg can be pretty good, the Wailing Vapor, Witch's Apprentice is okay, Primordial Overseer, especially if you have yourself a cheap nature spell, like a Ritual of Power or heck even the 0 mana one. Flight of the Firehawk could be okay, and yeah, depending on the matchup, Static Shock might also make sense, and if you're curving into something like Xavius or Elise, it might also be worth it. As for on the coin here, again, you're trying to curve out nicely, but depending on the matchup, you might actually hold on to things like Lightning Storm or heck even Hex if you're against a Warlock or potentially Egg Warrior. There's really not much else going on for Shaman right now. Elemental Shaman is listed here, but should you really be playing this deck? I don't really think so. So yeah, stick to Herald and you should be good. Spot number 3 goes down to Aggro Druids, and this deck really came back rising in power lately. It was having a pretty rough time after the latest nerfs to it, but after that it managed to stabilize and now it's back on the rise, especially with the meta shifting in its favor again. And this deck really feels disgusting, guys. Like, if you curve out properly with this deck, feels like it's really an unwinnable matchup. Like, if they get Ravenous Flock into Overheat or Hatchery, it's basically almost over, because the deck really does snowball really easily after that with things like Wildwood Circle and other potential buffs. Really rough deck to be facing. It does have a decent amount of card draw, it does have a decent amount of value and discover, and it can literally close out games as soon as turn 4 and 5 if they manage to curve out properly. Again, check out my detailed guide about it if you want to hear more details. As for the matchups, here's what we have right now. Again, Spell Demon Hunter slightly on the negative, Face Hunter is a little bit too quick for you, but everything else either 50-50 or very much in your favor. With a deck like this, going first and second, obviously you are going to be trying to curve out as fast as you can with your good early game aggression, so holding on to things like Egg, like Living Roots, like the Ravenous Flock, heck even the Long Neck Egg could be good, Felwood Treant, and you don't normally always want to be going for the actual ramp with this guy. Sometimes you just use it for the temporary 1 mana for that turn, so you can actually get yourself a little bit of extra. And if you already have the Ravenous Flock, Hatchery Helper would be amazing. Holding onto the circle, going first usually is also amazing, especially if you have yourself a good couple of playable cards. On the coin, the situation is not much different. Again, try to be curving out as well as you can. Again, the Wildwood Circle would be amazing, especially if you have some good curve in between it. And heck, even curving into a Wicker Fan could be a good idea against some matchups, and in that case, even Innervate makes sense. As for the other druids, we can see Big Druid apparently. I haven't really seen Big Druid ever, but seems like a not so great deck, like under 45% win rate, but Merifera Druid definitely is something to talk about, especially in top legend. A deck like this is performing really well, and it is including the new Bashana, which definitely feels quite alright. Other than that, the rest of the decks is basically iterations of Aggro Druid, and this is the one I'm showing you. Almost 60% win rate, almost 2500 games, definitely amazing deck to be using, and there's even a more populated list with not so much less win rate, so you do have options, but it's basically the same list. Like, the only difference is this one has a couple of Panther masks, whereas this one has Xavius in, which is also not bad. Spot number 4, of course, is going to be going to Spell Demon Hunter. You can't really have a top 5 meta report without Spell Demon Hunter nowadays, and this one is going to be no different. And yeah, there's really not any point for me to talk about this deck anymore. Like, I've talked about it in so many top 5s, I have at least 3 detailed guides about it, so all around definitely do check out those, but let's see how it's performing according to the matchups nowadays. And as you see, Merifera Druid is slightly on the negative, and that's one of the reasons why Merifera Druid is so great in top legend. And Egg Warlock is actually pretty pretty good against it too, so if you're sick of this deck and if you're facing too much of it, you could try Egg Warlock or heck even Egg Warrior because they can't really handle big stats. In the mulligan phase, going first, you are going to be looking for your good early game curve, like a Sigil of the Seas, like the Grim Harvest card draw. Time Lost Glaive is alright, Wyvern Slumbers, Eternal Hold would be pretty amazing, especially if you're not against the Rogue. The Portal is fine, the Sigil of Cinder is okay, Outcasted Horn of Feasting could be amazing, and heck, even the Nispira is pretty good. Depending on the matchup, Infestation might also make a good amount of sense. Going second, it's really not that different. Again, if you have an Outcasted Horn or easily outcastable Horn, would be a good keep. Holding on to Eternal Hold is amazing. As soon as turn 5 you get to play it, and the rest is the same deal. There's really not much else going on for Spell Demon Hunter lately. It has only have been Spell Demon Hunter for the most part, so basically stick to that archetype if you want to be playing the class. And the last deck could have been Bubble and Turn Paladin, guys, but really Dragon Warrior is so much better than it if you ask me, even though Paladin definitely also still feels like one of the best decks for easy legend, especially since the deck is actually not that very hard play. But Dragon Warrior simply does have the better stats for the last 3 days from Diamond to Legend, so I had to go with that. But if you want to check out my Pally detailed guides, you can definitely go ahead and do so. As for this Dragon Warrior list, there's really not much different going around with this one. It does have a little bit bigger, better board potential for the clears that is, with things like Searing Fissures, with things like Erupting Volcano. You have a good poke potential with things like Sanguine Depths, so you can actually use your torch on those dudes. And you do have a decent amount of dragons in this list, like there are quite a few lists out there with not that many dragons going on, but this one should be pretty consistent for you. For the matchups, here's what we have right now. Nothing really too bad, like it's literally either 50% or very much in your favor, so how could you not climb with a deck like this? When you're first, you're gonna try to curve out as good as you can. The Dark Rider would be an absolute unit of a 1-drop for you, because it could single-handedly give you something like a frickin' +4/+5 on your Prescient Slither Drake, and that's basically gonna be a done game. The Carrier Whelp is also pretty decent, gives you something to do on turn 1 and also potentially something on turn 2 or 3. Brute Keeper is also pretty nice, don't forget you need a dragon for him, and the Slither Drake can also be great if you're curving into it. Battle Peddler is also in here, which would be amazing if you have a turn 1 Carrier Whelp or something like that. The Darkscale Broodmother could be worth it, same can be said for Shadowed Informant. Going second, however, there's really not much difference again, and here Prescient Slither Drake is even better because you get to do it as soon as turn 3, and that is even better for you. As for the rest of the warriors right now, this is the list I'm showing you. Not that much sample size, but definitely very crazy win rate, and we have so many different iterations with similar results really, like everything 59% plus. If you combine all of these Dragon Warriors, here's an egg, you're gonna get a pretty fair sample size, and they're really not that much different. But also Egg Warrior has been performing very well lately, even though not that many people play it. It's definitely a deck worth checking out, and I do have videos about it again. Herald Warrior is also pretty okay, but if you have Dragon Warrior, why would you be playing a more expensive version of Dragon Warrior with the Herald package? It's simply not better, it's just different. And we can also still see Arena Warrior trying to creep in, but it's really just not a good deck to be playing anymore. After the nerfs, it really got gutted. As for the class we didn't mention, surprisingly, Unholy Death Knight has been showing some crazy results lately. Like, look at this, it's almost in a top 5 territory right now with a very good sample size and close to 58% win rate. Definitely pretty worth checking out, and again, I do have a video about it. And also Herald Death Knight seems a little bit more playable lately, but again, still nothing to write home about. As for Mage, Burn Mage still remains the best deck for the class, and you can check out my guide about that one. Quest Mage, however, in top legend is much better because this is a very skill testing deck. Like, it really takes a lot of skill managing the randomness of a deck like this, and you really need to know everything you could be getting out of the randomness before you even go for it, so it's really not as bad as these stats show it to be, but I would definitely not recommend it from Diamond to Legend. As for Leyline Mage, we really don't have anything too amazing out of that archetype so far, so we are gonna have to wait for the buffs for it, so hold tight. Like I said, Paladin could have just as easily made it into the top 5, and here we can see this Bubble Pally actually has quite the crazy win rate with a not that big a sample size, and we can see all sorts of other iterations of this version of Pally, again with similar results. And maybe technically speaking this should have been the top 5 deck indeed, because now that I look at it, the sample size and the win rate probably outweighs what the Warrior had, but still, it's not like you don't have access to this deck in my other video, so there's that. Straight out Aura Pally apparently is also playable right now, which is kind of interesting. This is without the flight maneuvers, and you're still running Ursol in here, which is kind of interesting. And we can can see all sorts of other different pallies at the bottom, like aggro pally is still working, dude pally is still working, but they're not as crazy good as people make them out to be. Moving down to priest, control, and quest priest, which is basically kind of the same deal, are definitely looking quite spicy right now. And even though the win rate for these decks don't show to be that great, I do believe this deck is much stronger than these stats show, but you really gotta know what you're doing with a deck like this in order to actually push it to its limits. Same can be said for Rogue, really. Herald Rogue has been doing quite well in Top Legend, but again, it is one of those random decks which you really need to know what you need to be pushing for, so you can actually create your own RNG, and the deck is gonna perform much better in Higher Legend, where people actually know how to play it, but from Diamond 5 to Legend, it's looking kinda okay-ish at best, and the sample size is not that great for it. Same can be said for Imbue Rogue, and there's even Imbue Herald Rogues, which become even more complex, but all around, it's not a bad class right now to be playing, but for Diamond to Legend, there's probably easier things you could go for. And last but not least, we have Warlock. Well, maybe it is least, let's not pretend. And what the hell, Rafam Warlock is looking playable? That is interesting, I would definitely give that a try today perhaps. But also Egg Warlock has been performing really well for me in Higher Legend at least, and one of the main reasons is it's gonna be really good against things like Spell Demon Hunter over there. And we do have different iterations of Egg Warlock as well. Some do run the Asphyxie down package, but others go straight out with the early game egg cracking action into Umbra faster, so there's that too. So that's gonna be it for this top 5, guys. I hope this helps you figure out what you want to be playing before the next patch actually hits. We should be hearing about some buffs really soon, but until then, these would be the decks to go for. If you found the video helpful, a like and subscribe would be awesome, and don't forget to check out Frag Store and get yourself some absolutely amazing Hearthstone merch mats. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Kris, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.